Alright, so on this next video, we're gonna learn what are called iframes, or in other words, called invincibility frames. And that concept goes along with what I was mentioning in the previous unit, where if our player collides with the enemy, it receives the damage, but it does it way too fast because every frame that this touch between this collision is happening triggers an different instance of damage. Basically, remember that in levels in games we have 30, 60, or even more frames per second. So in only 1 second, many different frames are passing, many different instances of damage are being applied. So that's how are we gonna fix this? We're gonna ahead and fix this by giving some immunity to our player right after it receives an instance of damage. That's actually a mechanic that is very popular in games. If you really like video games, you probably recognize the mechanic I'm talking about, where if we have our character and we receive damage, we have like half a second or a second of immunity before we can take damage again. Okay, so that is the kind of mechanic that we're gonna add here to fix this damage receiving to fix these like frames per second damage instances. Okay, so how are we gonna do this? We're gonna go to the character blueprint. So we should have this that we just did, right? And now we're gonna go ahead and add what is called a do once node. Okay, so this do once node is used on flow control as a way of making sure that an event just happens once in the blueprint. Basically, it receives whatever event is connecting to, completes it, but when the event has happened, let's say it already did the connection between the two nodes and it did the event, it will close. So this node has like a close or not close property where if we do the action, the node will be closed. So in this way, if a previous node is trying to activate this again, if it is closed, it won't actually trigger. So as long as this node is closed, it won't trigger again. That's how it controls that only one thing happens at a time because it starts open, it does the event, and then it closes so that it cannot be triggered again. You can control it so that it opens back up again by activating this reset. This reset will open the node once again so that it can again uh, be able to trigger the action. Okay, so let's do the do once node and connect it between the any damage and set health. Why do we want it in between here? Because we're gonna receive the damage, process it using the do once, and then we are gonna set the damage received. But what we want is that after it does the damage, it closes. So whenever this triggers again, it won't actually trigger the next instance of damage because this node will close. Okay? In this way, we're gonna control that only one instance of damage happens once at a time. Okay? Now, let's say that the damage is received, we do it only once, we set the deduction, we print the deduction, the resultant health. Now here we're gonna connect with what is called a delay node. I think we might have used this once before. This is just gonna wait an amount of seconds before something can happen again. So here for this delay, this is what we're gonna set as the invincibility time frame. How much time of invincibility is our player gonna have between one instance of damage and the next one? So we can put something like half a second, I think it's fine, 0.5. And then how is this gonna refer back to what we've been doing? Because we process the damage, we wait half a second, and only after half a second is where we are going to then reset our do once node by connecting this here. So how does the logic work now that we did this connection? Basically, we're saying that after half a second takes place, and that half a second is completed, only after that will our do once node open back again. In this way, we receive damage once, print the health, but if there is damage being taken place, let's say within this zero point 0.5 delay, it won't happen. It won't process because remember the do once will be closed during this zero point 0.5 delay. So in this way, there is no any more additional instance of damages processing. But when the zero point 0.5 second finishes and completes, we open back up the do once node by resetting it. Then we are able to process damage again so that it can just be once at a time. Okay, hopefully it makes sense what I explained. Compile and save. And then let's test how it works now. So if I touch 90, but you see only one at a time. 80, 70. You see how I'm touching, but I'm getting some invincibility delay so that it won't happen what was happening before. Now it's working like more of a true damage receiving system. Only one instance at a collision time. So only after a collision, we get just one instance of damage. We get that iframe in between. Okay? So our health functionality it's almost done. In the next video, we are gonna finish up the remaining setups.